Hello guys, so welcome to the IITN GATE classes. So here we are going to start a GATE solution on fluid mechanics. That is the first session we are going to take on fluid mechanics GATE 2021 mechanical set 1. Now coming to the number of questions and the pattern of the question that were asked in the paper. Now here we have the 1 mark question. That is total number of 1 mark question were 2 and the total number of 2 mark question were 2. That is the total weightage for the mechanical, that is fluid mechanics set 1 in 2021 were 6 marks. That is out of 100 marks, the 6 marks were allotted to the fluid mechanics, including fluid messenger also. That is fluid mechanics plus fluid machinery. Both included. Now, coming to the question number 1, that is a 1 marks. In this question number 1, what they are saying that there is a submarine, right, and the pressure measurement device fitted onto the surface of the submarine, which is located at a depth of h below the surface of the ocean, and it is reading an absolute pressure of 4.2 megapascal. The density of seawater will be 1050 kilogram per meter cube, and the atmospheric pressure is given. And acceleration due to gravity will be 9.8, not 9.81. You need to be very carefully while selecting the value, because it will be out of the range. Now coming to the solution. So this is the free surface of the water. Free surface symbol we represent by like this. Now coming to the free surface, what is the meaning of free surface? Where there is a no shear stress is acting onto the fluid element, right? Now here we have taken the seawater, and we have the submarines. We have the submarines. Now consider this is a submarine. Of course, submarine is having some different application why we are using all those kinds of stuff. Here we are not going to deal with this. So we are having submarine at a depth of h. H we need to find, and there is a pressure measurement device. Here it is placed. Now which is measuring absolute pressure of 4.2 megapascal. So here absolute pressure 4.2 megapascal. I can also write 4200 kilopascal. Now these are the given data which is given in the question paper, and you need to remember that the density of water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube, but the density of sea water will be more than density of normal water. That is why it is having a value called as 1050 kilogram per meter cube. Now, how to calculate depth? So we are having formula absolute pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure plus gauge pressure. This is the formula we are having, right? Put a note and note down formula number 1. Now, coming to this formula, what is the meaning of this? What is the significance of this formula? We know that the absolute pressure is a combination of atmospheric pressure and gauge pressure. The gauge pressure can be positive, can be negative. The negative gauge pressure we call vacuum pressure, right? Now, Coming to the calculation part, now we can easily calculate. Let me remove the figure so that we can do the calculation. P absolute is given as 4200. Right? Now, of course, it is mentioned directly absolute pressure. They have not given any gauge pressure. They have not given any means, of course, atmospheric pressure is given here. That is, P atmospheric pressure is given as 101 kilopascal. That is fine. Right? Now, we know that the pressure at a depth h, let's say point number 1, from the free surface, we have the formula rho g h, that we can write. Let me write capital H plus atmospheric pressure. Because why we are taking atmospheric pressure? In the left hand side, we are having absolute quantity. In the right hand side, must also absolute. If they would have given only gauge pressure, suppose this question they mentioned something like this: the gauge pressure is equal to 4.2 megapascal. Then we would have not taken this atmospheric pressure. But here we need to consider the atmospheric pressure, because in the left hand side we are having absolute quantity. Now we can easily calculate the calculation part is very easy. 4200, atmospheric pressure is 101 kilopascal, density of sea water is nothing but 1050 into 9.8, very important, into H. Now it is very easy to calculate what is the H value. So 4200 minus 101, right? And of course, you need to remember that this in kilopascal, this is also in kilopascal. So if we do subtraction, 4099 into 1000 is equal to 1050 into 9.8 into H. Why we have multiplied with 1000? Because it is in kilopascal. We need to convert to Pascal, because right inside we are having what? Pascal. So into 1000 by 1050 divided by 9.8. So I am getting around 398.347. But they have not asked in decimal. They have asked the question in what? Round up to nearest integer. What is the nearest integer? 398. So the range for this question was given as 397 to 399. If you mark it 400, 400 will be wrong, because that is out of the range. So that is whole and sole talk about question number 1. Now, coming to the question number 2. Coming to the question number 2, here they have mentioned a fully developed steady flow, a fully developed steady incompressible flow. We have to read each and every line. Fully developed steady state incompressible laminar flow of a viscous fluid between the two large parallel horizontal plates. The bottom plate is fixed and the top plate moves with a constant velocity called as u is equal to 4 meter per second. 4 meter per second. The separation between the plates is 5 mm and there is no pressure gradient in the direction of flow. The density of fluid is 800 kilogram per meter cube and the kinematic viscosity is given as something this. And we need to find the average shear stress in the fluid. Now, if you look at the solution, of this particular question, now okay. Now see the solution. One plate is fixed one, and other plate is moving with some velocity called as u, which is given as 4 meter per second, which is given as 4 meter per second. Let me write the data first. 4 meter per second, and the depth is given as, the distance between the plate is given as 5 mm. Let me write that also, 5 mm. And the density is given as 800, and the viscosity, kinematic viscosity, is given as 1.25 into 10 to the power minus 4. The density is given as 800, and the kinematic viscosity is given as 1.25 into 10 to the power minus 4 meters square per second. Now here the depth, the gap between the plate is h. Of course, one thing you can observe, h is equal to 5 mm, which is very, very small. That is a very, very small gap they have mentioned. In between the plate, the fluid is flowing. In between the plate, the fluid is flowing. Of course, if you recall, we have studied this type of particular name is there for this type of flow, that is Couette flow. What is a Couette flow? The flow which is happening when one plate is fixed and other plate is moving. The Couette flow is nothing but the flow which happens when one plate is fixed and other plate is moving. And that is what the similar condition is depicted here. Of course, we have the formula also. What is the formula? Minus 1/2 mu dou p by dou x, where y is nothing but the distance from the bottom plate, that is fixed one, minus y square plus u into y upon h. Here, if you observe in the question, they have mentioned that neglect the pressure gradient. That means this term will be 0. We have to neglect this particular term, right? So now this problem will become very similar to the problem which we have dealt in the first chapter in the fluid static, where the plate is moving, one plate is fixed one, and the plate is moving. Of course, there is a fluid in between that, and the upper plate is start moving with some velocity called u. And of course, the gap is small, so we can assume the whatever the profile, we can assume linear profile. Why we can assume linear profile? Because the gap is very, very small. Even though if you assume any other profile, parabolic or cubic profile, the answer will be approximately the same in the range, right? Now we have the Sayre-Stress formula. Up to this, very much clear. Now we have to solve the Sayre-Stress. As I have rightly mentioned here that the velocity profile will be linear. Right? The velocity profile will be linear. Now, what will be the profile of Sayre-Stress? If you recall the formula from the Newton's law of viscosity, the Sayre-Stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient, that is du by dy. Of course, if you remove the proportionality constant, you need to put some value, that is dynamic viscosity into du by dy. Now the slope of this velocity profile, this is nothing but velocity profile, and the slope of this velocity profile is linear. That means if slope is constant, then what about du by dy? This is constant. If this is constant, the tau will also be what? Constant. Now, if I'll ask you, what is the profile of Sayre-Stress? So the profile will be something like this. This is nothing but the profile for shear stress. This is the profile for shear stress, or we also call shear stress distribution. Right now, everything is mentioned over here. We need to just put into the particular formula, that is formula number 2. Formula number 2. Now we have to put into the equation mu into V by H. That is, here is it is given as U. Now what is the mu? Kinematic viscosity is nothing but dynamic viscosity by density. So mu into rho into U by H. So if you put into the formula, you are going to get 80 Pascal. That is tau is equal to 1.25 into 10 to the power minus 4 into density is given as something 800 into 4 by 5 mm. So if you are going to calculate 1.25 into 800 into 4 by 5 by 10, 80 Pascal, you are going to get it. Pascal we also called as Newton per meter square. That is the SI unit of pressure or shear stress. So this is what we are having solution for question number 2. Of course, this question is of very simple, that is of 1 mark, but it can be of 2 marks also. How? Just look at the other way of solving this question. Now see, if you read the question, what they are asking, the average shear stress in the fluid. If I would have asked the question, the shear stress acting onto the upper plate, the answer will be 80. An answer for this also what? 80 Pascal. The shear stress acting on lower fixed plate, again the answer would have been what? 80 Pascal. Because the profile for shear stress distribution will be something like this. But a very, very major assumption while doing all this calculation till now is based on there is a no pressure gradient in the direction of flow. But if I will mention that there is a pressure gradient and it is having some value, then in what way we need to proceed? That is a question. Now you need to look at the solution for that. Of course, this is the upper plate and this is the lower plate. And it is moving with some velocity called u. And there is a fluid between the upper plate and the lower fixed plate. And this is nothing but upper moving plate. And this type of flow we called as what? Cuvette flow. Now everything is very simple till now. What will be the velocity profile for this cuvette flow? And what will be the shear stress distribution? Now, if you observe very carefully, you need to observe this will be the velocity profile and this will be the shear stress distribution. Let me draw. This is the velocity profile and this will be the what? The shear stress distribution. This will be the what? Shear stress distribution. This is nothing but velocity profile. Or velocity distribution. And this is nothing but shear stress distribution. Now, what is the governing equation for cuvette flow? Just now I wrote -1/2 mu dou p by dou x hy minus y square plus u into y upon h. That is, it is a combination of two fixed plate. In between that, the fluid is flowing, plus one plate is moving with some velocity u, and the other fluid are there in the rest condition. And of course, this combination you have studied, and we have the generalized formula, that is laminar flow between the two parallel fixed plate. This is the governing equation we are having, and for this we are having this. So Couette flow is a combination of these two particular cases, right? That is case number 1 plus case number 2. That is going to give other case called as Couette flow. That is case number 3. If I'm calling case number 1 and this as case number 2, so this will be the case number 3. That is nothing but case number 1 plus case number 2. And of course, where the velocity gradient is 0, there the shear stress will be 0. And where the velocity will be maximum, that you need to differentiate and put it to 0. And where the value will be y, there the value of velocity will be what? Maximum. Of course, the gap between the two plate will be h. This is the whole topic about Couette flow. Now, moving on to the third question. Now, if you look at the question, if you look at this particular question, what they have mentioned, if you look at this particular question, a cylindrical water jet, which is having a density called as 1000 kilogram per meter cube, it is impinging at the center of the flat circular plate. It is not a flat plate, a rectangular plate. They have mentioned the shape also, circular plate, which is spread radially outwards, and spring is attached to the particular plate, which is having some stiffness, and the diameter of jet is also given as 1 centimeter. And spring is showing some steady deflection. You need to read the line very carefully. Steady deflection of 1 centimeter, and upon impinging of the jet, what is the velocity of incoming jet? What is the velocity of incoming jet that we need to calculate? So of course, we can easily calculate this particular question. Let me draw the figure. Now see the solution. For question number 3. And of course, I'm going to tell you the common mistake most of the students going to do. Now see. This is the circular plate with which the spring is attached, and a spring having some deflection. While moving, jet is moving with some velocity v1, and it is impinging, and now it is going to deflect by some amount, delta. And what is the delta is given? 1 centimeter. K is given as 1000 Newton per meter. And the diameter of jet is also given 1 centimeter. Each and every data is given to you. Of course, the column of jet height, they have not mentioned. If column of jet height is not mentioned, then you need not to consider any weight of the fluid column. Now, we need to draw the equilibrium condition when the plate is at the rest condition after deflecting the spring by amount delta. Let me draw the free body diagram. Of plate. This is a plate. This is the force of jet which is acting. Of course, the force of spring is also acting. The plate is not under the acceleration. Of course, it is acceleration in between the initial and the final position. I am drawing final state. And at the final state, the plate is in the equilibrium condition. The plate is in equilibrium condition. If it is in the equilibrium condition, the net force must be 0. That is, force of jet must be equal to force of spring. What is the force of jet? Mass flow rate into velocity of jet is equal to force of spring. What is the force of spring? K into X. That is spring stiffness into X. Of course, one more thing you need to understand is that here, if we suppose we have the fluid column H, then we would have considered weight of the fluid column also. But here it is not given, so you no need to consider the weight of the fluid column. Only the force of jet and force of spring will be acting on the plate. Now, coming to the solution part, now it is very easy. Mass flow rate. What is the mass flow rate? Of course, rho into Q, that is rho into area of jet into velocity of jet. If I'm going to put here pi by 4 d square into velocity of jet square is equal to k into x. If I'm going to substitute into the formula, rho is 1000, pi by 4, 0.01 meter square into velocity of jet square is equal to k is nothing but 1000. Spring deflection is 1 centimeter, that is nothing but 0.01. So if you are going to calculate, that is 1000 will cancel out. So 4 into 0.01 divided by pi, 0.01 is square into this. So what you are going to get 11.28 meter per second. This will be the answer for question number 3. So one mistake you would have come across when they have given the height of the column. You would have missed particular weight of the column, because in that case you need to take the value of what? Weight of the column also. That is mass into m into g. Of course, it is not given, so you need not to consider anything about that. Second mistake, what most of the students can do is that now they have the tendency to do always, whenever this type of question will be coming, they will not think about according to fluid mechanics. They will think about the engineering mechanics. That is what they are going to do. What is the kinetic energy of the coming fluid? Half of mv square. They are going to what? Directly equate to what? Spring energy. That is potential energy. And of course, with this formula, if you are going to calculate whatever the velocity of jet you are going to get, that is 5 point something meter per second, this answer is out of range, because the answer range is 11.2 to 11.4 something they have given, and that is absolutely wrong. So you will lose 2 marks. So you cannot do simply you cannot do just energy balance, because that is, we are not going to discuss any something which is attached, let's say block is attached to the spring initially in the rest condition. Now we have applied some force, it is given some velocity, and after giving some velocity, what is happening? The spring is going to deflect by some amount delta. In that case, we can do half of mv square is equal to half of kx square. But here we are not dealing any such type of cases. Here we are not dealing any engineering mechanics. Of course, it is a engineering mechanics application is only the fluid mechanics. But here we are not going to do, because the plate is in between final and initial. The plate is under the acceleration, that is in the transition state. But at the final condition, the plate is under the rest condition, is under the equilibrium condition. So we need to balance the force. That's it. So that is whole and soul talk about the question number 3. Moving to the question number 4. Of course, it is a part of the fluid machinery, and we are going to explore more about the Pelton wheel. Pelton wheel. Of course, the question has not been asked from the Kaplan turbine or the Francis turbine. The question has been asked from the very simple first topic, that is Pelton turbine. And if you recall correctly, we also call it what? We also call it as tangential flow turbine. Pelton turbine, we also call it as tangential flow impulse turbine. Of course, why we are calling Francis turbine as a reaction turbine, why we are calling Kaplan turbine as an axial flow turbine, and why we are calling Pelton turbine as tangential flow impulse turbine. There is a specific reason for all those things. Why we are calling tangential flow? Look at the wheel structure. Let's say there is a runner and there is a blade which is mounting over there, and it is rotating in this particular direction. This is nothing but a runner. This is nothing but whatever the I'm drawing, this is the tangential direction. Whenever the fluid which is coming out from the nozzle and impinging onto the turbine blade, they are moving in this direction, that is tangential direction. And that is this type of flow direction happening in the Pelton turbine. If any fluid is coming like this in the radial direction, we call radial flow machine. And of course, if you look at the top view, let's say this is the profile of the blade. Let's say in the third, that is perpendicular to the plane of the paper, parallel to the shaft, whatever the flow is there, that we call axial flow. So three different categories are there: tangential flow, axial flow, and radial flow. And we are going to cover here today, that is tangential flow direction turbine. What is the meaning of impulse? See, impulse formula, we are going to have force into dt, a very large amount of force which are going to act for the short duration of time. Because if you look at the structure of the Pelton turbine, if you look at the structure of the Pelton turbine, this is a dam. This is the dam. Now, this dam construction is there, and through that, there is a penstock with which the water is taken to the nozzle. Of course, in between, there is a surge tank also there to stop the water hammer. I'm just discussing the overview of how the Pelton turbine is acting. There is hydraulic turbine. There is a nozzle is connected over there, and then it is impinging onto the wall. We are having impulse, this Pelton turbine, which is there over the casing, normal casing, to avoid the leakage. This is the Pelton turbine. Right now, what is happening? The velocity with which the coming, that is velocity with which the water jet impinging onto the blade will be very, very high velocity. That is, velocity is equal to under root 2gh. Here we can apply the energy conservation, that is half of mv square is equal to mgh. So whatever the velocity we are going to get, 2gh. This much of high velocity is impinging. That's why the force is acting for the short duration. That's why we call tangential flow impulse turbine. That's why we call Pelton turbine as tangential flow impulse turbine, not reaction, because reaction will be coming by the pressure force. Of course, here in whole turbine casing, the pressure is atmospheric pressure. From inlet to outlet, the pressure will be atmospheric. There is a no change in the pressure. That's why the degree of reaction is 0 for Pelton wheel. Of course, the question has not been started. I'm just telling the basic and overview of Pelton wheel, tangential flow impulse turbine. Now coming to the question and coming to the data. What are the data they have given? They have given some velocity, that is RPM, 300 RPM. Diameter of jet is given as 2 meter. Sorry, diameter of wheel is given as 2 meter. And directly they have given the flow rate, that is Q is given as 5 meter cube per second. Q is given as 5 meter per second. Now, from this data, we can calculate blade or bucket speed, that is pi d n by 60. Pi into d into 300 by 60. If you calculate, you are going to get 31.416 meter per second. Approximately, I'm saying, you are going to get 31.416 meter per second. And after this, what we are going to have, They have given the deflection angle, that is Z is deflected by at an angle of 165 degree. What is the meaning of this? It is a semi-elliptical bucket. It is a semi-elliptical bucket in which the water is coming with some velocity. Okay, let me just calculate each and everything. Then I can go to the velocity triangle diagram for the Pelton wheel. Velocity of jet V1 is 40 meter per second. Everything is well. Let me just write it onto the next page. Okay, fine. So here we are having data in front of us. We have calculated Q. Okay, Q is already given. U is we have calculated. Of course, it is a tangential flow. So U1 equal to U2. That is 31.416 meter per second. That is, it is entering and leaving the blade at the same radial position. Now, what are the things we need to calculate? First of all, I will tell you how to draw the velocity triangle diagram from the scratch. So this data is known to us, no problem. Now we can draw the velocity triangle. Of course, 3D figure is very much different, but I'm just showing the particular side view. You can see that U1 VR1, that is total is equal to V1. We also called as V omega 1. See, velocity of jet or the bucket speed, that is not responsible for the rotation. The component of velocity which is responsible for the rotation is what? Whirl velocity. Whirl velocity. Now we can draw from here triangle. So I'm just sketching a rough view of that. Now this is nothing but, see, whatever is coming from the blade, that is VR1. This is the flow velocity. This is a V2, VR2, VF2. The distance between this VR2 and V2, you know that vector. What is the vector addition? V is equal to VR plus U. Right? This is the vector addition we are having. And the component of velocity V square is equal to V omega square plus VF square. These two things you need to remember for drawing the velocity triangle. You should be remember these two things, 1 and 2. Very, very important points. Of course, here also we are having the velocity triangle. Now, they have given the angle is something like this. They have given this angle 165 degree. So what about this angle? 15 degree. So this will be what? 15 degree. This 15 degree we also called as blade outlet angle. Blade outlet angle. Blade outlet angle, sometime if you read the conventional paper, you will come to know that side clearance angle. We also called it as side clearance angle. Now, the phi is given as 15 degree. Okay. Each and every data is given. U already we calculated. V1 is given as 40 meter per second. We need to calculate power of the runner. That is, what is the power output? We have the formula V omega 1 plus or minus V omega 2 into U. This formula is coming from angular momentum, that is momentum of the linear momentum concept. Now, plus or minus, it is totally depending upon the velocity triangle, that is outlet velocity triangle. Now what we have to do, we have each and everything. Whether plus will come or minus will come, it will depending upon the V omega 1 and V omega 2 sign. What is the sign? Now, V omega 1 is in this direction. If V omega 2, this is nothing but U2 and this is nothing but V omega 2. Let's say that, let's assume that if we are having triangle, that is outlet velocity triangle is something like this. This is nothing but U. This is nothing but V omega 2. If you look at the component of V2, it is something like this. So this will be the V omega 2 component. It is in the opposite direction. Then the formula will be mass flow rate V omega 1 plus V omega 2 into U. This will be the particular power of the runner, power output from the turbine. But if your outlet velocity triangle is something like this, let me draw it. This is nothing but VR2, this is nothing but VF2, and this is nothing but U2. V2 and VR2, the shortcut is the distance between this will be U2, and the distance will be here also V omega 2. Now, if you look at the component of V2, horizontal component V omega 2, it is in the same direction as V omega 1. In that case, the formula for power will be mass flow rate. This is for this velocity triangle, and whatever I'm writing just now will be the power formula for this velocity triangle. Now, it will be totally depending upon the component of VR2 cos phi. So let me write again both velocity triangle. This is VR2. This is U2. And of course, this is nothing but V omega 2. If VR2 cos phi greater than U2, then this velocity triangle will be coming into the picture. If VR2 cos phi is less than U2, that means this component U2 is greater than VR2 cos phi component. In that case, this triangle velocity, this outlet velocity triangle will be coming into the picture. Now, how to calculate VR2? Of course, we know that VR2 is equal to K times of VR1. K is equal to 1 for smooth vane. Now, how you come to know that whether K equal to 1, 2 or something like that? Of course, it cannot be greater than 1. It will be less than 1 only because there is a friction. But here they have mentioned neglect the losses. Friction losses will be neglected. In that case, we can assume that VR1 equal to VR2. And of course, what is a VR1? V omega 1 minus U1. That is 40 minus 31.416. So if you are going to calculate, so if you are going to calculate 40 minus 31.416, you are going to get 8.584 meter per second. This is a VR1 and this is also equal to VR2. You can calculate VR2 cos phi 8.584 cos 15. So let me write into cos 15. It is coming as 8.2915 meter per second. It is less than U2. What is U2? I told you U2 is equal to U1 31.416 meter per second. Both will be the same. And of course, this condition is satisfied. So we can have outlet velocity triangle, something like this. And what is the formula? Power formula will be changing. The power formula will be mass flow rate V omega 1, V omega 2 into U. That's a very simple. Now it's a matter of putting into the formula. V omega 1 is also equal to V1, that is 40 minus V omega 2. How to calculate V omega 2? If you look at the triangle, This is nothing but VR2, this is nothing but phi, this is nothing but VF2, and this is nothing but V2. And this component is V omega 2. How to calculate V omega 2? That is a question mark. So U2 is equal to VR2 cos phi plus V omega 2. From here, you can calculate V omega 2. And what is a V omega 2? If you just calculate 23.1245 meter per second, you are going to get it. So I'm going to put 23.1245 into 31.416. So it is 1000 into 5 into this particular data. So 40 minus 23.1245 into 31.416 into 1000 into 5. They have asked in megapascal. So we are getting the answer as 2.65 megawatt. So this is whole and whole talk about the fluid mechanics set 1. That is total 4 questions were asked. All the 4 questions were simple, but we need to apply some basic knowledge. So I hope that you are understanding the concept. Thank you.